Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Perth to Paisley Podcast. Happy New Year to all the Heart of Midlothian family for 2022. Joining me, Adam Kennedy, to discuss the Men in Maroon. As always, in the first episode of the new year is Mr. Daniel McIver. How are we, McIver? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well, and I reciprocate it to everybody as well. I hope everybody over the festive period had a lovely time. I'm doing good, generally. I managed to see family for Christmas, which obviously I wasn't able to do last year, so that was great. Had a quiet new year and ready to speak about the fantastic football club of Heart of Midlothian. What about you?
I'm great, mate. I've had my booster today.
How are you feeling?
Actually, all right. I'm genuinely doing not too badly, which I'm slightly worried about the after effects tomorrow. I feel like I'll be.
For me, it was during the night.
I'm going to be like uploading the pod's tweet virtually from my bed, just dying. But no, I feel fine. Had a nice Christmas. It was nice to obviously not spend a Christmas Eve going out to the airport to get COVID tested. I think my dad was relieved to wake up this Christmas not with coronavirus like he did last Christmas. And yeah, had a nice festive period. Boxing Day was, well, it always is the best day of the year, but did Hearts necessarily make it the best day of the year? Probably not. And if we start with going around the grounds, there were, of course, the 6 Scottish Premiership fixtures on Boxing Day. The first of which took place at McDermott Park as Celtic swept St Johnstone aside 3-1 in Perth. I think that was a 12 kickoff or a half 12. God knows, wasn't watching it.
Early.
Bothered with that. Yeah. Aberdeen got the better of Dundee 2-1 at Pittodrie. Dundee United were blown away 3-1 by Hibernian at Tannadice. There was, of course, our fixture. Motherwell 2, Livingston 1 was my only correct score prediction, as that took place at Fir Park. Kim Van Veen scored an absolutely cracking free kick, and Rangers got the better of St Mirren by 2-0 at Ibrox. Probably also should have mentioned Lee Griffiths' free kick, but let's move on. What did you make of kind of the other quintet of fixtures, McIver?
Well, we'll go to that Dundee Aberdeen one first because I just don't know what's happening with Dundee anymore. I just don't know what they need to do, like to do anything worthwhile in this division. I just think they're going to get relegated. Like the Griffiths free kick will be up there for goal of the season, but it says a lot. It says a lot when like it means nothing. Like you don't get anything.
To be fair, I think the main thing that I took away from this fixture was James McPake's seethe at the game going ahead was incredibly pleasing.
That's true.
And I actually thought, particularly when I saw the scores come in, I was like a bit surprised that they'd taken the lead and thinking, could Dundee of all clubs actually do us a favour?
Yeah,
but of course they didn't.
No, of course not, because they're James McPake's Dundee. Hibs scored an offside goal that I don't understand how it hasn't been picked up on. Like,
I think there's no, even Tam Courts himself seemed pretty surprised that that's been given.
The Nisbet goal at the start, he's a mile offside. He's so far behind the keeper. I don't understand.
It's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not even surprised at this point. You're not angry. It's just I'm just learning to accept that there'll be some faux pas or mishap every single week without fail.
Yeah, and then both the Glasgow clubs just won. Obviously, Kyogo was kind of the big talking point from the Celtic game, knackering his hamstring again. And
Fingers crossed.
Well, this was the thing, because obviously, I didn't watch their game as well. I just watched the sports scene highlights, as I'm sure you did as well. Yeah. And it was one of those that was like, oh, he's knackered, because he just ran for a ball and immediately pulled up, sat down and was like, I'm done. A lot of my Hibs fan mates are furious because it's like, oh, so he just comes back miraculously for a cup final, wins the Met, and then is back injured again.
What was I going to say? Do you know what annoys me? And
many things is what annoys you.
But I don't want to get too controversial here, because obviously I know that with COVID and whatever, you see these medical experts kind of come to the fore on Twitter.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Celtic medical experts with this whole hamstring malarkey, like they're posting, articles done by The Athletic about Klopp's Liverpool and all this, and I'm just like, your players are injured. Like, injuries happen. I can remember us crying about injuries a couple of seasons back.
Watch the documentary with Austin McPhee where he's like, I've literally got a full team out.
Perhaps the board should have backed Ange Postecoglou more in the summer. You could have fulfilled like positions in the squad. Like, there's no point crying over spilt milk now. It's happened. Boo-hoo.
Instead of buying James McCarthy.
On a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Like, you spent tens of millions. I don't want to hear this nonsense.
That's still mental. A 4-year deal for James McCarthy.
A crocked James McCarthy.
Crazy. And then Rangers just won comfortably. St Mirren look like they just are in complete and utter free fall, which is lovely.
Which was kind of hilarious that they held Celtic in Paisley a couple of weeks prior.
Yeah.
A depleted St Mirren squad, I should say, held Celtic. And Motherwell 2, Livy 1. Do you know
I have nothing to say.
Other than Van Veen's free kick was another cracker.
It was great. However, he's still somebody that I don't think turns up in the big games.
I would probably agree with that, to be fair. But no real shocks or surprises, was there? It was fairly routine. Something that wasn't fairly routine, that should have been, given the first half performance, was Heart and Midlothian beating Ross County at 2-1 at Tynecastle, which is obviously, the main talking point of this podcast. I was hoping that this would be a festive feast of football, given that Hearts and County would go toe-to-toe at Tynecastle. Robbie Neilson had made 3 changes from the side that had beaten Dundee, albeit 2 of which were enforced. Gary Mackay-Stephen, the suspended Cammy Devlin, and the seemingly injured Stephen Kingsley all making way. In came Alex Cochrane, Michael Smith, and Aaron McInnes as the men in maroon lined up as follows. What I will say right off the bat is, people might notice me looking at my notes. We said before we came on air, this game feels like it was a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Like, we're recording this the 4th of January. So it was only Boxing Day.
Yeah, a week and a half.
A week and a bit. And it genuinely feels like a lifetime ago. But yeah, the Hearts team, sorry for that, was Craig Gordon in goal, a back 3 of John Suter, Craig Halkett, and the aforementioned Alex Cochrane, with Taylor Moore and Andy Halliday at right and left wing back respectively. You had Michael Smith alongside Peter Haring in the middle of the park. Had we known that this would be a central midfield duo at some stage of the season?
It's my favourite midfield duo we've ever had in my life, I think. And my 2 favourite players are just there. We
were literally talking, like, we have been building Benny Beningame and Cammy Devlin to high heaven. How, like, the Celtic fans, this is what happens when you get injuries and suspensions. You chuck in other players and you hope for the best. As we did, obviously, with Michael Smith and Peter Haring. And then Barry Mackay and Aaron McInnes supporting Ben Woodburn leading the line in attack. What did you make of that starting 11? Because there was no place for Jamie Walker in the starting 11, despite proving the match win against Dundee at Dens. He had to settle for a spot amongst the subs. He was joined by Stephen Kingsley, who seemingly made a miraculous recovery. I thought that he'd be out for a good wee while.
Yeah.
You had Josh Ginnelly, whose suspension was over, but he wasn't in the matchday squad whatsoever. Benny Beningame is, of course, on the sidelines, like we say. No place for Liam Boyce. And then Ben Woodburn was chosen to lead the line instead of Armand Nandwile, who's our only other recognised striker. So what did you make of the bench and the starting 11?
Listen, all that happened was Robbie was like, I'm mixing it up for the end of the year, having a laugh. Come on.
He's definitely looked at it and gone, fuck it. It's only one fixture left. What's the worst?
It's Ross County. Come on. I'm happy Jamie Walker didn't start because he can't start games of football at this level anymore. I'm worried about Liam Boyce. Gina was out with COVID.
Oh.
And which we believe because Robbie said that it's all right. Robbie said,
me look like a right fanny giving a watch the Gaffer's press conference. He was like, "Oh yeah, Josh Dinelli's back in training. His suspension's done." And then I just see him omitted from the squad. I'm like, "Oh, right."
So just before the game on Hearts' Twitter, Robbie was interviewed and he said that there is a mix of injuries and COVID for the players missing out.
Fantastic.
And you have to assume that with Boyce clearly hurt, and Gino the only one omitted for non-injury or suspension reasons.
Yeah, by process of elimination, it was George Torelli. Can I just say, this was probably around the time that I was frantically messaging you at my sheer rage with Hearts and Hearts TV. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to disclose, my viewing circumstances or anything like that. It was a perfectly legal stream that I watched Hearts play Ross County on.
Yeah,
perfectly legal.
Definitely. So to continue with the team and move away from potentially libelous accusations labelled at us, Andy Halliday, for fuck's sake, but he has to, I guess. Like,
your mate.
Great. Alex Cochrane back in. Delighted to see him back in. I love that Michael Smith just seems to exist as this entity upon himself, where he's just like, I'll play anywhere. I saw during the past week, he was saying that it's kind of the first time with a certain player coming in that we mentioned last week, and we'll definitely touch on more later on, that it's the first time he's really had competition since he's been here, since he's just had to deal with a mix of injuries with his deputies or just he's clearly the
rubbish.
Best. Yeah, he's clearly the best player. So he said that he's really happy that he's now finally got competition, but he did raise the point that he's not limited to one position. He can play right back, right wing back, centre half, centre mid, right wing.
Like we've mentioned Benny Beringame a lot for a guy that hasn't featured in a wee while so far into this podcast episode. I had previously dubbed him the greatest footballer that I've ever seen. That was a bit preempt, but Michael Smith is genuinely a contender for one of the greatest footballers that I have ever seen.
He's one of the most versatile players I've seen.
Wonderful footballer. Like, I think dubbing him a utility player would be a disservice.
Yeah, that's
because he's genuinely more than competent in a good 3-4 positions, like you say.
Definitely. And then the other big talking point was, as you say, Nandwillie wasn't chosen. It was left up to Ben Woodburn to kind of be the number 9. I think paired, and again we'll get onto it soon, but paired with all the stuff in the press, I think that's very evident why Nandwillie wasn't trusted. And then I just liked McInnes just kind of being told, do what you want, just run about, it's fine. And he ran about quite well in that first half.
Run about, son.
Exactly.
I can remember prior to the Rangers game that I sort of suggested that Barry Mackay and Aaron McInnes support Liam Boyce then. So it was quite surprising. I'm not going to lie. Again, you know what's coming here. Why the Hearts? Like the squad number thing, man.
I like it because it means that no one has any clue and it makes it exciting.
It doesn't. It's annoying.
Potentially, you could argue we listed 7 defenders in that game.
Like, I had no idea. It's just a mumble jumble. I don't want to have to do like my mental maths and all this arithmetic, trying to work out formations. Is that 10 outfield players? It must be 10 outfield players. Does it go 4-3-3, 3-5-2? I don't know. 4-2-3-1.
Surely agree that it's always going to be 10 outfield players.
I feel
surely it's not going to one day just go, we're playing with 7 for a laugh.
I'm convinced that Hearts try and slip another extra couple in there. We're that much of a scumbag club. I could see it. Genuinely, it baffles my brain.
Brilliant.
But thankfully, all my anger and worries were put to bed. Oh,
don't do that!
After
don't
just
do
4 minutes.
Face.
No, I'm annoyed because we're gonna we'll come to it later on with your financial situation. I thought I was doing pretty well with the old cream cookies at the minute, but you're indebted to this man.
Oh, honest to God, when he leaves, I'm fucked.
There's going to have to be some other like random that you select for a first goal scorer bet. But Michael Smith was the very man, the greatest utility player of all time. Barry Mackay's pressing sees a deflected county pass fall to the feet of your mate Andy Halliday. Slips it to Ben Woodburn. There's some fine footwork from the Liverpool loanee, which sees him jink his way into the box, slide across for Aaron McInnes, who probably should score. Ross Laidlaw saves. However, there is the Northern Irishman to stab home the rebound from a central midfield role. And the Jambos are ahead on Boxing Day after less than 4 minutes. What a sigh of relief. I breathed. And it was, I say a sigh of relief. I was pretty pleased. I was thinking, yes, just what you know me. I love when Hearts get off to a fast start, put the opposition under the cosh, early doors. And that's exactly what we did. And we find ourselves 1-0 up after 4 minutes. And your 365 account or wherever you place it was
Sky Bet.
Booming. Sky Bet. There you go.
There you go. Other betting firms are available.
Yeah, feel free to get in touch for sponsorship, like
Bookie
absolutely. Or anybody like that.
100%. Definitely. I've got a theory for you. It's not so much a theory; it's kind of just a statement. We seem to do the thing that you like: get early, fast starts when we don't have crowds. Because I remember us doing it loads of times last season. Mainly Michael Smith doing it as well.
He did like an early goal. That Dundee, even the championship opener, Dundee's probably the prime example, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And so maybe we just didn't need fans. Maybe we're great.
Was that where you were kind of betting? No, you've always had Michael Smith.
Motherwell away, where he scored that raker when he had just got back from Northern Ireland. Yes, yeah. That's when I started. So whenever that was, like 2018 or something, 2019.
Jesus.
I can't mind.
Because even obviously I was watching it with Dad, given I spent Christmas up the road, and he was like, "Oh, that'll be Daniel happy," and I was like, "Dad, I've had a fantastic festive period. Please do not remind me of
why don't you want me to win money?"
And him, no doubt, cheesing at Michael Smith, marauding as he so often does.
This is the thing. See, when I watch games at home when there's no crowd, it's hard to like celebrate them. Unless it's in a big game.
Thank God you said that.
You know what I mean?
Dad didn't even get up off the sofa.
No, see, but I'm saying for this one, I did. I was like, yes! Because it won me money.
And you're watching it on the laptop. So I was looking at it like...
No, I had it on the TV, mate. I had it on the TV.
Oh, yeah, yes! Come on!
It's a good finish as well. It's a really good finish. It's just inside the post.
Composed, sophisticated.
I love him. We need to give him an extension. I know if he plays like 2 more games, he gets an automatic year extension. But I'd give him a couple of years. Come on.
He deserves it.
Exactly.
There is one other man that I'd like to talk about first and foremost, particularly inside kind of the first 10 minutes. Ben Woodburn fired an effort wide from range, and then he links up with Barry Mackay that lobs over to Aaron McInnes on the right-hand side of the box. I think it's a kind of awkward half volley that Ross Laidlaw is on rushing and prevents him. He seemed to close down the angle kind of really well, but Ben Woodburn looked like the player that I had assumed that we were signing from Liverpool. And as the half of the podcast that's been much more critical of Ben Woodburn, I was starting to think, have I drank too much come Christmas Day? Am I still steaming? Like, what am I watching here?
See, this is the thing. As someone who was teetotal, I was still doubting myself. I was like, nah, wait, something's happened. Like, this looks like a Liverpool.
What's been slipped into my Christmas dinner here?
Exactly. He just looked like a Liverpool player who had come and joined us on loan for a game. Like, that's what we were wanting. I'm still not convinced on him. I'm still not suddenly going to be like, you did well for a half against Ross County. All is forgiven. Like, but you can't criticise any part of that performance. He'll be gutted that he didn't get on the score sheet when he did.
Well, we'll come to that later on because, look, I think, like I say, I was just really impressed with the start.
Yeah,
I thought we looked right up for it, and I know it's easy, like you said, to get yourself up for these category A's, like either the Old Firm, Hibs, Aberdeen. These are like the most important games, particularly at Tynecastle. But there was kind of a small part of me that thought on Christmas Day, as much as I'm looking forward to watching Hearts with Dad tomorrow, if I was a Hearts player, would I really be up for County at home on Boxing Day?
With no fans.
Yeah. Like, maybe at Tiny, if there's a decent capacity crowd.
I was going to say, normal Boxing Day, I think you would be just because of the stadium.
But in front of no fan, like, fair play to the playing squad. I know if that was me, I love Hearts to bits, but even there would be a part of me that would think, sack this today.
That's shocking. That is shocking behaviour and mindset from you. And it's why you've never made it as a professional footballer.
Oh yeah, that's the only reason.
that's the only
Apart from
stumbling
the fact that I
block.
couldn't kick my own arse.
That doesn't matter.
But yeah, I thought particularly the offensive trio looked good. Barry Mackay was next to kind of try his luck from range after a patient passing build-up. I'm one that, again, possession I get in the modern game means a lot, but to me, it's just a stat. I was pretty pleased to see us keep the ball well on the whole, so long as we actually look menacing with it. And I thought in the first quarter of an hour, or in fact, I'd go as far as to say even the first half from what we saw of it on the stream, we looked menacing at just about every opportunity. And I don't know whether that's just because of the opposition or we're kind of off the back of a massive away win at Dundee. I'd be intrigued to get your thoughts.
I don't know. I think a part of it does have to favour in the fact that we've been very good at home this season. And when you're playing a team down where Ross County are, and you pair that with the fact that we're playing well at home this season anyway, you'd think, well, that's going to contribute to it. But it did look different because we've played Dundee at home this season, who are down there, and didn't look that good as we did in that first half. So maybe it's maybe my theory of just we play better with fans at Tynecastle is the thing. It was just good. Everybody seemed to be getting involved. Like Suter hit the woodwork twice, I think. Am I right?
Yeah, he did. We obviously missed that due to Hearts TV's fantastic coverage that we would never criticise.
It's not Hearts TV's fault. We're not getting into it, but it's not Hearts' fault.
No, that's like I say. I'm not going to criticise Hearts TV. It's not their fault. It's just one of those things.
The most passive aggressive comment you've ever made on this show.
That is saying something,
and that is definitely saying something.
I thought first half, Aaron McInnes was pretty unlucky not to find himself on the score sheet. He had a couple opportunities. Peter Haring again sent a lovely long ball forward. I think it was on about 20 minutes, maybe toward the half-hour mark. But Aaron McInnes was kind of at the angle, and he sends one past Ross Laidlaw's right-hand post. Michael Smith was just Michael Smith. That's the best thing, the best compliment I could give him. And he kind of poked one wide again after some nice patient build-up. And I think my only concern was, despite Hearts' dominance, the fact that we hadn't grabbed that second goal as of yet, because I'm always one for just getting it sewn up nice and early. No matter how comfortable you look at 1-0 up or 2-1 up, there's always that danger that you're only one ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I think Smith should score. I think he should go. Like he tries to go again to Laidlaw's near post. I think he should just put it to his far post. I don't think Laidlaw would get it. I also think that Aaron McInnes could maybe slide him through that a little bit sooner. Yeah, definitely. Or there's, I think Smith races through. I can't remember who's hovering on the edge of the box. It might be Ben Woodburn. I don't know whether the pullback's perhaps the better option, or I don't know. Yeah, I can't fault Michael Smith, particularly given he was at kind of the heart of the move to try his luck and having already scored in the game. Absolutely. But I do, obviously, I get your point, where in 99% of games at 1-0, I would be the same, being like, we're getting all these chances, but we're not taking them, for God's sake. However, on the flip side, I was confident that in that first half, I was like, if we keep doing this, there's no way Ross County are getting anything for this game at all. No, because the first half was so comprehensive, like we say. Obviously, we did miss a couple chances due to the interruption, let's just say. I think I can only remember really two kind of Ross County chances in that first half. And it was after John Suter hit the woodwork for the first time. Obviously, this is from rewatching the highlights. I didn't remember it in real time because I didn't see it. But there was one where Joseph Hungbo had kind of cut inside, but he sends a tame effort right in Craig Gordon's hands. And there's one where Dominic Samuel looks to start a move kind of on the halfway line, eventually pops out to, I think it's Vokins at left back, who sends a ball back into the middle for Samuel, but it was a pretty poor header and he should do a bit better. But again, like I talked about it in the podcast prior to the county game, they can score goals. And I do quite like the look of them going forward. I think if they actually had a prolific goal scorer,
they would, like, I could see why Liam Boyce back in the day bagged so many for Ross County if they were kind of doing something similar. If they had Liam Boyce of back then playing for them now, they'd probably be higher up than, I don't know, 9th, 10th or wherever they are.
Well, their expected point, I saw somebody put a table up and it was an expected points. And if County had got the points that the stats think they should have, they'd be 6th.
Bloody hell.
Like, so they're underperforming.
They do score
their
barrel
output,
loads.
but that's it. The defense is so bad.
Defensively, yeah.
I mean, you've got Connor Randall, so no wonder. Jesus.
And more on him later on.
Yep.
But Hearts would double their lead, thankfully, 4 minutes before half-time. There's 2 things that make this goal. The first of which is the gorgeous ball from Peter Haring, which is it's so funny. Last week, I literally was saying, Peter Haring can do things that Devlin, Beningame, McInnes can't do. And what that is spraying forward passes. And as he did that, I laughed as I watched it live thinking, he's literally done exactly what I said, only because no one else can do that. No one else can do that in our midfield. He looked back at his best, didn't he?
Which he has done for most of this season, and I love him to pieces.
Well, in the kind of few opportunities that he's had, it's mainly been in recent weeks given Benny's absence.
Yep.
And yeah, that was the first thing. And the touch from Ben Woodburn's not bad either, is it?
It's great. It's so good.
He obviously then continues before unleashing one at the edge of the area. A massive deflection off the seemingly Hibs-bound Harry Clark that diverts it past Ross Laidlaw. 2-0 Hearts, 4 minutes before half-time. And again, like you, given how comprehensive I thought our first half performance was, I was thinking, that's it. Brilliant. Job done. 3 points. Safe.
Is that Harry Clark?
Yes.
What is he doing at that goal?
He had a mare, can I just say. He's been decent so far for County this season. He's been like the shining light in that dreadful defence that you've rightly dubbed them. But my goodness.
What is he doing when the ball's in the air? I don't understand where he's going.
He's off to the corner flag. Yeah. I don't know where he's off to.
I don't know what he's doing. And then I'm always of the opinion that if there's a deflection, it's because the defender isn't closing down quick enough. So defenders failed to do their job properly.
And so he's well and truly at fault for the goal.
Yeah, like, what is he doing? There's about 4 opportunities where he could stop it. I know that Woodburn's touch is fantastic and it takes him out of the game. But part of the reason is because he's running the other direction to it. Because I don't know if he thinks Woodburn's got to take it down and go on the outside. But why would he ever do that?
He cuts in more than any Hearts player that I can recall.
And he's playing as the number 9. Years.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. But obviously I didn't see it at this stage. So I was just getting the Hearts Twitter notification. I'm like, oh, good, 2-0. Disappointed that I can't see the goal. And then I saw Ben Woodburn pop up. And there was a part of me that was like, do you know what? In the action that I did see, he was looking great. But do I want a kind of personal vendetta to continue against Ben Woodburn?
Listen, he's your doppelganger, so you should want him to do well.
Even then, I've been thinking about getting like a 1-all over and reset it, but that would genuinely, I'd look even more like Ben Woodburn. That is bad, isn't it? I've had a couple shocking doppelganger shouts. Johnny Sutherland, or that's the worst. Somebody said Kieran Trippier, which I think they were smoking God knows what. But Ben Woodburn crossed with Jonathan Sutherland is perhaps the worst.
It's fine. With my glasses, I get Harry Potter, so we're all right.
That's Scar.
We're all good.
So yeah, one of my boo boys, which will come to, looks as though he's on his way out. I need somebody to, vent towards. And as soon as I saw that it was him that had put us 2-0 up, I was thinking, do you know what? It's Christmas. I'll let it slide.
Did you see the Liverpool Echo headline about the goal?
No, what did they say?
The most clickbait headline you've ever seen in your life. It went, Liverpool loanee keeps Hearts Champions League hopes alive.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is a very, very nice way of explaining that goal and result.
Did they not say the same about, when Michael and Goo was up the road?
I think so. That Inverness game, I was there. Easter Road.
But What were you thinking?
I was thinking this is it. It's going to be 4-0 by the end of the game. It should have been 4 or 5. 3-4. Yeah, 100%. It should have been 4 or 5 in that first half. As we say, Suter hit the woodwork twice. McInniff had chances. Smith had chances. We took 2. And it was like, we're sorted. Fowler and Borthwick were doing all the pre-match stuff, halftime stuff, and post-match stuff. And at halftime, they were just like, this is one of the best performances we've seen from this Hearts team in the first half.
Definitely.
Nothing can go wrong, can it?
No, but if there was a club that could find a way to monumentally screw it up, I know that club. Like you said, I mean, Soapy just before half-time should put us to eat the good. How does he not score? How does he not score between the two of them?
Yeah.
But
his eyes are off. His head's not focused.
These pound signs are like rolling.
He's away along the M8. Have you heard that rumour?
Oh, that's been a constant one. I think what was it Dad said to me? He was like, it can't be choosing Stoke over Edinburgh for places to live. And I was like, well,
I saw people say that
fair point.
I saw people say that about Gordon because Plymouth were apparently in for him. It was like, he's no swapping Edinburgh for Plymouth.
Plymouth Argyle.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But that was obviously all that she wrote first half. I was actually going to say that I think the last pod we did, I'd said 3-1 because I predicted goals galore. How it only ended 2-1, I will never know. Because look, second half, like we were going to touch on, how can the first half be so professional, thorough, comprehensive, and the second half so dull?
I can tell you why.
Boring. You can't agree with the gaffer that it's the flat atmosphere, do you?
Part of it, in all seriousness, I can, because we see it everywhere. That it was like, we did it so many times last season. That Alloa game, you remember we won 3-0 at home and we blitzed them in the first half, and then it was one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen.
But three, I get it. The game's done.
But I think in their mind, they were like, this game's done. They're not coming back in it. I don't agree with that mindset, by the way, but I think that was a mindset.
And they don't grab the next goal, as we then see.
Yeah. And they don't have the fans. Because if the fans are there, it's like, come on, we want to see more. And that makes players go, oh, aye, they're actually here for a doing. Whereas, as you said, it was a professional performance and they go, right, that should be us done. However, I have another reason why it completely went tits up.
Well, do you know what? It's funny that you were going to say that, because I thought I want to agree, but Tynecastle and its atmosphere is often flat at the best of times anyway.
Aye, but there's fans who can moan. There's fans who moan.
Well, then I was going to say, had it been as thorough and comprehensive like I suggested, you're right. We would have been craving 3s, 4s, 5s, and beyond. But what was your other reason?
We lost our prince. Craig Halkett went off, and everything just ruined from there. Like, you could physically see the team go, oh no, we've lost Halks. Because Halkett, I can't remember the exact stat. I can't remember if he is number 1 in the league for defensive aerial duels won. But if he isn't number 1, he's in the top 3. Like, he wins basically everything in the air. And Ross County were often going through the air. And Halkett in that first half just cleaned up everything, because that's what he's amazing at. He's amazing at being a sweeper in the middle of a 3 and just going, Suter, Moore, Cochrane, Kingsley, Smith, you can do whatever you want on the ball, doesn't matter, but I'll just get rid of it for us. And when, obviously, Kingsley probably wasn't expecting to play as much as he did.
Could not believe he was coming back.
I know, it was unbelievable.
I said something like, delighted to see my man Stephen Kingsley return, but don't want it to be at Craig Halkett's expense.
Yes,
and I think that pretty much galvanised the entire fan base's feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And Kingsley then had to fit in at the middle of the 3, because you can't ask Cochrane to do that. And that's now we have 3 ball playing centre halves who aren't amazing. Suter's good in the air, but he wasn't central.
And this might sound a bit daft. I don't think Stephen Kingsley's the appropriate build for the centre of the team.
He's nowhere near as physical as Halkett.
Halkett is a big boy. Aye. Yeah. And you could see, like, I'd be happy with him, Taylor Moore or whoever, planted in the middle of a 3. Stephen Kingsley, to me, just a luxury footballer. He's not particularly enormous. He's just a fine specimen that can unleash a free kick from time to time.
That was the thing. It's one of the countless games we've seen this season that has proved to people who say Halkett shouldn't be given a new deal, Halkett isn't good enough. He's been our most improved player. From my opinion,
mile.
He's been in the top 3 players this season. He's been fantastic. And every time he's had to either leave during the game, or obviously we had a couple of games where he was out through injury, we just crumbled. Yeah, we just look at almost at C at the back, but we're like, we don't have him there. And that's such a compliment to a guy who often has been said that he needs someone there to steady his nerves. But evidently now it's like, when Halkett isn't there, the other defenders now panic a wee bit and go, oh, we don't have his security.
As a massive kind of indication of the improvement in Craig Halkett, definitely. Again, the frustration arises that we've not yet tied him up. Same as Stephen Kingsley.
I think we will, though.
Do you think we'll secure Halkett to a new deal? Because from what I'd seen from the paper talk, I think the kind of two at the front of the queue were Bristol City and Swansea, if my memory serves.
I
like Halkett, but I think Bristol City is more likely than Swansea City, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think with the age he is, and with how well we're playing now, unless money is the main aspect for him, which I would understand, obviously, but I think if we offer him a deal, which we should, and Nielsen has said we have. Nielsen is saying that we're in talks with him at least. Clearly the club want to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we do. This is slightly off topic, but we were obviously meant to have a derby on Monday, and the club posted the highlights from the 3-1 game. And see when Clare scores the penalty, it's from behind the goal, and Halkett's in front of it, and Halkett just like loses his mind on his own.
He's got the armband on as well.
Yeah, I love him. I love him so much, and I hope he's all right. We've seen that the injury isn't as bad as initially feared, because it looked bad. Like, he's kind of cemented himself in the ground, but Nielsen said that it doesn't look as bad as we initially thought, and that the break kind of came at the perfect time because it means that we didn't need to rush him back for anything.
No, I go along with all that. So the Hearts, sign him up. Do the right thing.
Because look how shit we were when he went off.
No, that reminds me. I was gonna ask you something, then I forgot it just there, but now I've remembered. Do you think? I don't know whether he's got I'm assuming he's got aspirations to play for the national team in his mind. Do you think he'd be better served having an extra couple years at Hearts, or moving on to a championship team and potentially getting that exposure down there? Or do you not think it matters?
I think he should stay with us. And obviously people will go, well, you just want him to. But I think the worry is that he doesn't get played in a system that suits him. And he clearly is a player that needs to play in the centre of a 3.
And Scotland are lacking in the centre of a 3, really, particularly with Grant Hanley's recent injuries. He doesn't feature for Norwich at the minute. So, but that's obviously down to injury. And
he's now in a settled team where he's doing well.
Yeah, true. Look, second half, we discussed it before we kind of came on here. Few chances, really lacked in quality, but County would pull one back. Joseph Hungbo is slid in on the right-hand side again from Dominic Samuel. And I think it's then slid across to Jordan White, who, hits both posts in it. You deemed it a lucky goal.
Yeah.
I don't think it's lucky in the build-up, but the finish maybe.
Yeah, the finish is lucky. It's actually it looks amazing because it goes in off the post, but he should be burying that with no complications. That should just be in the back of the net. If he misses that, it's a terrible miss.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. And the glaring opportunity is the one where Conor Randall should haunt us. The ghosts of Ian Cathro were watching over as Joseph Hungbo does get in the way of Conor Randall, who I was literally up and screaming at the laptop. I was raging. I don't
understand how it didn't go in. I've watched it about 5 times and I still can't believe it doesn't go in.
See if you'd have stopped watching when the stream crashed, you'd think that Hearts would go on and routinely win that 4-5-0.
Yeah.
If you watched it like all of us did, I was thinking, how on earth did County not grab something from the game?
It's so funny. See, immediately after that chance, it cuts to Malky Mackay, and you'd expect in a moment like that a manager to be annoyed, be exasperated. He just turns and clearly says to somebody out of shot, "What the fuck happened there?" It's just such a disbelief. Like,
one of them that he just cannot account for. Look, you'd asked me, I think, was it before the Dundee game? No, yeah, it was before the Dundee game that it had to be 3 wins from 3, 9 points from 9.
Yeah,
that is 6 from 6, 2 from 2. Obviously now disrupted with having the St Johnstone game after the break. I'm pleased. I'm calm. It's not. Look, it wasn't. It was a great first half performance. It was a dreadful second half performance. It's brought us 3 points. Again, much like the Dundee game at Dens, I'll take winning ugly every single week.
Yeah.
Every week. And the only frustration that I had from the County game was that it wasn't a 3 or 4, because it deserved to be, given what we saw prior
definitely.
to the stream crashing.
And we did that without, arguably, 4 of our best players for the majority of that game. We didn't have Boyce, we didn't have Devlin, we didn't have Benny, and we didn't have Halkett for the last 40 minutes.
No, and it's ironic that you've mentioned 4 players there, because of course, seeing as we've entered 2022, that now means that the January transfer window is
the
open.
shittest window. Come on.
It's dross, isn't it?
I hate the January transfer.
It is pretty rubbish. But it does seem as though Hearts' outgoings and incomings are in 2 particular positions. The first of which is at right back or right wing back. We're going to start there. First things first, Cammy Logan has departed for Gary Naismith's Edinburgh City on loan until the end of the season, I believe. City now in the playoff places in League 2. So I personally think that's a great wee move to be in a team that's vying for promotion, albeit it is in the 4th tier. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Definitely. I just hope he plays regularly. I hope it's not a Harry Stone situation. Obviously, the Harry Stone situation is a lot harder because there's only one goalkeeper. But
even at Cove, it didn't look as though it was all that regular for Cammy Logan.
But
if my memory
the thing,
serves me, were Rangers not playing Cove Rangers at Ibrox?
Yeah.
And we were all kind of clamouring, thinking, oh, well, if it's on Premier Sports, like, we could give that a watch, see how Cammy Logan gets on. And
he didn't play.
Was he stuck on the bench that day?
Yeah, he did. He was just sat on the bench. I hope he gets gameplay. It's obviously great that he's going there under Naismith, who Naismith has previously worked with him as our loan manager, and he got him sorted with stuff like that, so he knows him. And it's just good that he's finally getting games, because the problem has been that his injuries has meant that whenever he's come back, it's often not in a window. So he's then had to sit for 2 months, not doing anything, get back fit, and then get hurt again. So hopefully this is the start of him getting regular game time, and then he can come back and start competing.
Can I just say, I am a massive fan of this move, because I'm pals with Edinburgh City's captain, Robbie McIntyre, so I'll get some updates off him as to how he's doing. Gary Naismith, with me being a Pennycook boy, obviously Jason Kerr, when he was on loan from St Johnstone at Gary Naismith, I think Gary Naismith had him at East Fife in Queen of the South. Aye. And Jason seemed to say that Gary Naismith was great in terms of accelerating his development with obviously going and getting games. So that's great. However, of course, the big piece of news, the one that you'll no doubt want to speak about, given it's another Aussie, is the incoming Nathaniel Atkinson. The 22-year-old joins from Melbourne City in his homeland on a 3.5-year deal, undisclosed fee subject to visa approval. From what I've read on the afternoon of recording, the 4th of January, Hearts are hoping to kind of complete the formalities in the coming days, probably after this podcast release, well, most likely anyway. But are you excited about the man that's been dubbed Natty Aka coming in?
I love it. First of all, before we get in the end, have you seen his dogs? He's got 2 lovely dogs.
No, I haven't.
Oh, the lovely wee things. So get on his Instagram now and get looking at his dogs, listeners. So that's the main thing I'm excited about. He might be all right at football, but I like his dogs. So that's kind of my priority there. Obviously, we spoke about him last week when it was like oh, we think we've got him. We don't really know what's happening. However, Adam has now, I think, seen the dogs. See, they are nice dogs, aren't they? They've got wee afro heads, like they're class. I love them. But yeah,
I've got some barnets.
They do, don't they? They're great. Oh, they're wee units, and I love them. So yeah, as a footballer, he looks all right.
Brilliant.
It's good, as I said earlier. It's good competition for Smith. It's someone who is his natural position is a right wing back, not just a right back, which is something that we've needed because often the criticism labelled at Smith and Moore is that they're not natural there. So there's kind of a bit of disjointedness because Cochrane's really good at getting up and being quite attacking. He's very highly thought of. He was obviously at the Olympics with Cammy Devlin. As we said last week, if Cammy Devlin could have picked one young Australian to come across, it would have been Natiaka. And I'm very excited.
Can't say anything else. Haven't seen the geezer play, but like you say,
he scores a raker. He scores an absolute raker after he starts. He wins the ball back, plays it forward, does about a 60-yard gut-busting run, gets the ball back after the deflection and fires it into the roof of the net. It's amazing.
No, I'm a fan of that. That sounds very promising indeed. And like
who's that Hibs? Who's that former Hibs player who's Australian?
In the middle of the park.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Him. He posted on
Matt Milligan.
Maybe I don't know. However, he posted on one of Nathaniel Atkinson's Instagram with glory to the high bees, and Atkinson replied.
Oh no, it was Jamie McLaren that did that.
Jamie McLaren, that's who it was.
Yeah.
And Atkinson replied with maroon and white flags. So he gets it already.
Love that.
I love him.
That's good.
I'm just glad we've got another Australian as well.
He's obviously following the footsteps of Cammy Devlin, like pandering to the heart.
Yes, and I am the easiest person to pander to. I accept it.
He's got you swooning already. He's
I love him.
For us yet.
I've not even seen him in the flesh.
Cars haven't even confirmed the signing. They've just said that he'll join.
Yep.
Oh dear, smitten already. That's fantastic. I'd kind of alluded earlier that Armand Nandvili is potentially joining Cammy Logan out the exit door. That is if paper talk becomes a reality. The Frenchman appears to be linked to the move to Salford City. Mm-hmm. So his contract's obviously up come the end of the season. Do you think we'll kind of look to shift him on immediately and get some dough? Can you see him signing a pre-contract? I guess it sort of really depends on how desperately the Amis want him, to be honest. It's going to be some laugh when he's featuring on like a documentary on Salford and like the class of 92, and they're building him up to be like Didier Drogba when he's banging them in on a regular basis.
I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I just think it'll be whatever is best for both parties. I think if he wants to leave and we are like, yep, that's fine, because obviously part of our strategy in the transfer window is clearly to get a striker. Robbie said that the number one priority is to get a striker. You have to think that he'll have to go for us to get another striker in, probably. I know that isn't like a hard and fast rule. It's not like we need Nando to leave for another striker. We can have all three together, but I doubt that would happen. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, because I've also seen like Bristol City has been linked to him as well. Like there's a few. Yeah, there's a few.
I didn't think his ceiling was that high, to be fair, in the Championship. No.
Like, I agree.
I can see some League One clubs. Like I think Sunderland have been in long-term managers, haven't they?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like other clubs vying for promotion. I don't know. Wigan, Rotherham, Plymouth, Argyle.
Yeah, go to Plymouth. They tried to get God and they'll go up the other end of the park.
Or like Blackpool could surely reunite him, no?
I think that screams of Dimitri Mitchell 2.0. Someone who was class in the first term and then comes back and it's a disaster. Who also went on to play for Blackpool, funnily enough.
Yeah, well, we'll see. There was, of course, a story that emerged but seems to have kind of been put to bed. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because rumours were kind of emerging in Japan that the Jambos were plotting a route for, let me get this right, Tsuyoshi Ogashiwa.
Yeah.
of Hokkaido Consadole Sapporo of the J League. There you go. Sapporo, thank you. They finished 10th of 20 in the J League last season.
As mid-table as you can get.
Yep. 7 league goals in 30 of appearances. Unaware of how many of those were starts. Did my research, but not got a Scooby who the fella is. Also don't have a Scooby where on earth people think that Hearts were plotting such a massive bid from. I don't know if... Is this James Anderson money never ending? Is the foundation received a shit ton of more pledges?
See, when this came out, my brain went, we're selling Suter in January.
See, that I'd understand, but then surely you'd go like for like.
No, we're going to get a Japanese 10 instead of losing a Scottish 6.
We've definitely had a look at like Postecoglou kind of raiding Asia for a plethora of players.
Listen,
just hoping that
it's a talent pool that
we can have one.
It's a talent pool that's been completely untapped by our side of the game, which is really frustrating. I really like that we're going to the A-League and picking up young players from there, because Devlin's come in and been amazing. Hopefully Atkinson comes in and does the same. And it's an entire area of football that often just kind of gets disregarded for
Ryan McGowan
reason.
Spoke about that really passionately on the latest episode of Scars in the Funnel. That was good listen.
Absolutely. And he was spot on with what he said. Like, there's a reputation that, in Asia and Oceania, whatever you want to call it, down in Australia and New Zealand, that they don't care as much about football. It's all about rugby and cricket and stuff like that. But there's still, like, incredible talent that has come from that part of the world, both in Japan, China, and then moving down further south to Australia and New Zealand. Like, there's so many talented players, and it's an entire area that if you do what Postecoglou's done and tapped into it early, it can reap you such high rewards because no one else is doing it.
It does fry my brain that, like, just thinking now, there could be some kid playing on like an Adelaide beach, like where Gowser's from, and they could later be pulling on the maroon jersey, having flown, all the way over to the other side of the world to represent the mighty Jam.
Isn't that where Atkinson's from? Isn't he from Adelaide? I know we signed him from Melbourne City, but I think he's from Adelaide.
Couldn't tell you.
I may be wrong.
Don't have a clue.
I focus mainly on these dogs and not much else.
And now I'm going to be obsessed with these dogs. I thought I was obsessed with just Dusty, but now there's another two added to my collection.
Collection.
But what do you know about this Japanese geezer?
No much. He plays normally as a 10, which is why when everybody went, we're signing this striker with only 7 goals in 30 games, it's like, in fairness to him, he's only played a striker in the last 5 games. The previous 25, he was in the 10.
Right, well, okay, that's still not that bad a return, actually, as an attacking midfield player.
And the big thing was that he's a very creative player, which is what we've been screaming out for, a creative midfielder.
Oh, wow.
But
who's been crying out for creativity for a wee while?
Well, it's no happening, regardless. It isn't happening. He said, I'm moving past this. I'm moving past you trying to be cocky. He's not happening. He said very clearly that he still has unfinished business there. The rumour is that the 800k was much, much less. Scottish journalists.
I saw Mark Donaldson immediately put that to bed. There was such a high price tag. That's what I was exactly going to say, because it seems as though he's rejected us. I want to say for now, because I feel like, I don't know whether these guys are content with just playing in Asia. I'd imagine that they'll have their sights set on Europe, and we would kind of be the first stepping stone for him. So maybe that move to Scotland could tempt him later on. But
especially because there is an element of it where now that Celtic have set, like they just signed this Maeda and Gucci and stuff like that.
And Hatate and
I missed the third one. I know that one's Maeda, one wants to go by Gucci. And I can't.
That's the sitting midfielder that was at Leeds, I think.
Yes.
And I think that the other boys had Hatate.
I'm not sure. I missed the third one completely. I saw Maeda's interview. And basically, there is something to be said for that will attract other, particularly Japanese players, because it's such a culture shift. And it's such, like, the language is insanely different. The entire culture, as I say, is totally different. The living conditions. It's very daunting to go across yourself. However, if there is already a contingent within the league, it would make it easier because they would all be able to kind of help each other with the language, with the environment.
They'll be inspired by exactly what you said with kind of Kyogo Furuhashi. There he has earned a trophy pretty much single-handedly in that final with 2 great goals, and has already been, dubbed with a move to the Premier League or wherever.
Listen, I personally, Japan is like where I eventually want to end up. I love Japan, I love Japanese culture, I love everything like that. And I've always wanted us to kind of tap more into that. And I don't think this deal will happen, personally. But
probably not.
I'd like us to kind of keep an eye on that market and it's because there's no negatives to it. Like, if you're just aware of a market, nothing might happen. But if something does happen and you can pick up a player who's destined for better things, but you can get him in that stopgap, it can only benefit the club.
Joe Savage, if you're listening and watching, there you go. There's McIver's statement. I guess that pretty much sums up kind of all that we've had to speak about recently, other than the greatest present of all, a late Christmas present, I'd like to consider it. And, it was Craig Gordon's birthday, but I felt as though I was getting spoiled. It was fantastic, isn't it?
It's just incredible. Just sat going, oh yeah, it's New Year's Eve. It's Craig Gordon's birthday. Would they maybe do it? Obviously, in the time that we've been away, there was all the reports that he might be going down south, and the Hearts fan base shit themselves collectively.
I loved the This Is My Story Pod's tweet, which was immediately like, Joe Savage was very confident that Craig Gordon will remain at Hearts. And there was a part of me that was like, yes, I'm fully aware that, Craig Gordon's back at Hearts with being a Hearts fan. But there was just a tiny little part of me silently shitting myself. But thankfully, that's been put to bed. Two and a half year deal, is it?
2.5 years until the end of 2024.
Takes him to 42 years of age.
Hey, Buffon's just turned 44.
Everybody's using that example, and I can't blame them. I'm so happy.
Oh, it's great. I did see. I can't remember. I feel really bad. I can't remember who said it, but I fully agreed with somebody being like, I love how Hearts have seen the way in the 2 days prior to the announcement, the way that everybody's panicking, but they were like, we want to announce it on his birthday because it's nice, so we're just going to let you all panic in the 48-hour period.
That's it. The Hearts admin was like, screw it. I'll just chuck all the content out on Craig's birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Bang. There you go. Can't fault the shit house.
I said on Twitter I would walk John Souttar down south myself if it means we get to keep Craig Gordon. I just think he is the most crucial one that we have to get signed. He's been our player of the season so far. I think head and shoulders. The captain, Hearts fan, the best goalkeeper we've ever produced. Arguably
best goalkeeper the club's ever had.
Yeah, arguably the best player we've ever produced in terms of from academy. Obviously,
the records show that and whatever.
Yeah,
with the club record sale,
and just the most handsome footballer of all time as well. I'm delighted.
I said it at the time, but that League Cup defeat at Alloa was one of the worst days of my life. Yet, interviewing Craig Gordon stood literally about 5-10 yards. I'm a heterosexual male, but I was getting lost in his eyes. He's one handsome man, aged like a fine wine.
He's beautiful. He once, I say this if it was ages ago, in July, he turned to me and went, "What are you doing?" And I just didn't know what to say, because I was standing speaking to Robbie Nielsen.
What are you doing?
He just kind of looked at me and I'm like, what are you doing? Who are you?
Who the hell's this clown?
Yeah, exactly. And I just love him. He might be my favourite Hearts player ever.
I know, but we've said this before. I don't want to give a goalkeeper that.
But see, I didn't give a shit about that. I'll happily give it to a goalkeeper. One of my favourite players ever is Victor Valdez.
But you love all the defensive side.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm the offensive man. Rudy, nobody's ever going to come close to Rudy.
Rudy is the other one that it's but I also have Presley, which is hated amongst everybody exactly. But the focal point is that Craig Gordon is still here. We can all calm down, and now the important thing is get Halkett, Kingsley, and Haring to new deals, please.
because we're consigned to losing John Suter.
Yeah, that's happened. I've very much made my peace with it. I'll be more annoyed if we lose Haring than if we lose Suter.
There was another thing. Blackburn was another club linked to John Suter as well.
Fucking everybody's linked with John Suter, right? Except us. We're the only one who are linked with John
Rangers,
Suter.
Stoke, Blackburn, all interested in a Hearts player.
Yeah, exactly. However, that is us for this week. And we will say this now. We don't know what's happening next week. Obviously, with the winter break ending soon, but it's probably not going to end soon. Games probably only going to be back.
We need a Craig Levine type January transfer window to fill an hour's worth of conversation.
Basically, yeah, basically.
Long gone are the days where Hearts would shell out 11 summer signings.
Mind that January we got Suter. 2016. What if we have another moment like that? We just get a huge signing. Yeah. But anyway,
that'll be the next sponsor. There you go.
Yes, exactly. Right. We might see you next week. We hope to see you next week. However, just keep up to date with all the socials, which are below me and Adam here. However, if you're just listening, it's at Petty Paisley on everything. That is where you will find out what's happening. Regardless of if we're going to do an episode or not, we will tweet that way or another.
I'll keep you in the loop. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. Because it's a big next 70 episodes next week.
Mad.
How crazy is that? What are you all doing here? You mental cases. But
anyway, life, come on.
Exactly. Stop listening to our show. But thank you for listening to our show this week. As I say, we have been Petty Paisley. You can get us on all the socials at Petty Paisley. Send us an email, pettypaisley@gmail.com, if you fancy giving us any form of questions or just a topic to speak about. Same with all forms of social media. Just tweet us stuff if you want to speak about. We're also on YouTube. If you're watching this, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment on that. It massively, massively helps. Also, if you just listen to this, please leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. Massively helps the algorithm as well. Please do that. It's been really, really helpful, particularly towards the end of the year. Adam, where can they get you on social media?
They can get me on all the socials at Adam T. Kendall. And I was going to say, just you can fire abuse at us for a week if you want. You know, there's plenty of avenues to get your points across. Might even do a wee Q&A or something. We don't know what's in the pipeline, but what about yourself, mate?
I'm at DMcIver22. We are potentially back next week to preview the upcoming St Johnstone game and any other transfer ins and outs. But until then, or until the next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
See you when we see you. Mon Hearts!